He can't walk. He barely speaks. He claims he's not even Bran Stark anymore. And yet, he became king of the Six Kingdoms. But what if I told you that everything you thought you knew about Bran's ending was exactly what he wanted you to think? Because here's the thing that's been eating at me ever since that finale aired. While everyone was arguing about whether Bran deserved the throne, whether the ending made sense, whether it was rushed, we all missed something crucial hiding in plain sight. See, we were so busy being disappointed that we forgot to ask the most important question: what if Bran didn't just accept the crown? What if he orchestrated the entire thing? And I'm not talking about some fan theory here. I'm talking about evidence that's been woven through the fabric of the story since the moment Bran fell from that tower. Stay with me. Because once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll never watch Game of Thrones the same way again. Let's go back to where it all began. Winterfell. A young boy climbing a tower, witnessing something he shouldn't have seen, and then, falling. Pushed by Jaime Lannister in a moment that changed everything. But here's what we need to understand about that fall: it didn't just break Bran's spine. It shattered the boy he was supposed to become. The sword-fighting, tree-climbing, night-dreaming Brandon Stark died in that moment. And something else was born. The three-eyed raven tells Bran later, "You'll never walk again, but you will fly." We thought that was about ravens. About warging. About magic. But what if it was about something far more terrestrial? What if it was about power? Think about it. Before the fall, Bran was just another Stark child, destined for some minor lordship, maybe a position in his brother's court. After the fall, he became the most powerful being in Westeros. He can see everything that's ever happened and glimpse what's yet to come. That's not a curse. That's the ultimate political weapon. And here's where it gets interesting. Bran's entire journey, from Winterfell to beyond the wall, from the cave to King's Landing, follows a path that seems guided. Random? Or orchestrated by someone who could see the future and engineer his own rise to power? Now, I know what you're thinking. But Bran said he doesn't want any more. He's not Bran Stark. He's the three-eyed raven. And that's exactly the problem. That's exactly what makes this so brilliant. Because what better way to gain absolute power than to convince everyone you don't want it? Look at every other character who wanted the throne. Cersei, ruthless and transparent in her ambition, everyone plotted against her. Daenerys, the breaker of chains who became a tyrant, burned alive by her own ambition. Even Tyrion, who wanted to be had to constantly prove his loyalty, constantly defend his position. But Bran? Bran removed himself from human desire. He made himself appear as this passive, emotionless vessel. And in doing so, he became untouchable. Unquestionable. Because how do you plot against someone who claims to want nothing? How do you suspect someone who seems to have no agenda? It's the perfect disguise. And we see this strategy work over and over again in his final season. Every time someone asks him a direct question about his intentions, he deflects. I don't want any more. I can't be lord of anything. But notice, he never actually refuses the crown when it's offered. He just waits for everyone else to decide he should have it. But it goes deeper than psychological manipulation. Let's talk about the moments where Bran actively steered events toward this outcome. Remember when Bran tells Tyrion his story in Winterfell? The whole long tale of becoming the three-eyed raven? That conversation happens in private. We don't see most of it. And immediately after, Tyrion becomes obsessed with the idea that Bran should be king. Tyrion, the man who understands power better than anyone, suddenly believes that someone with no desire for power is the perfect ruler. Coincidence? Or did Bran show him something, tell him something, convince him of something that we never got to see? And what about the Battle of Winterfell? Bran serves as bait for the Night King, yes. But he also wargs during the most crucial moments. Where does he go? What does he see? He claims he was waiting for the Night King, but he's gone for so long that people questioned if he was doing something else entirely. What if he was warging into those ravens not just to watch, but to ensure certain pieces fell into place? To ensure he survived? This is where we need to talk about the most chilling possibility of all. Because if Bran can see the past and glimpse the future, if he can witness every moment in history and every possible outcome, then he knew. He knew Jon would kill Daenerys. He knew King's Landing would burn. He knew hundreds of thousands of people would die. And he let it happen. Think about the pieces that had to fall into place for Bran to become king. Daenerys had to be removed, but not before she eliminated Cersei. Jon had to have a claim to the throne but be unable to take it. Sansa had to rule the north, removing it from the Seven Kingdoms. The old system had to be broken before a new one could be built. Every single one of these things happened. Bran had the power to warn people, to change outcomes, to prevent tragedies. But he didn't. And when Tyrion asks him why he came all this way to King's Landing, Bran says, "Why do you think I came all this way? Not, I don't know. Not, fate brought me. But a question that implies purpose. That implies he knew exactly where this was leading. And here's the truly dark part, the three-eyed raven isn't human. It's an entity that's existed for thousands of years, passing from one host to another. Brynden Rivers, the previous three-eyed raven, was once a Targaryen bastard who became Hand of the King, then Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. A man who understood power intimately. What if the three-eyed raven isn't some benevolent keeper of history? What if it's something that's been playing the long game for millennia, positioning itself at the center of power, using human hosts to achieve what no human could achieve alone, immortal rule over Westeros? Bran says he can't father children. That means no dynasty, no heirs. But also, no one to challenge him. No one to inherit. Just him, living for who knows how long, ruling with absolute knowledge of past and present, possibly future. A king who can never be deceived because he knows everything. A king who will never die because the three-eyed raven is eternal. That's not democracy. That's not even monarchy. That's something else entirely. Now, let me show you the specific moments that prove this wasn't passive acceptance but active orchestration. Moment 1, the War Council. When everyone's planning for the battle against the Night King, Bran volunteers himself as bait. He positions himself in the God's Wood, the one place where he's most vulnerable. But here's what's strange, he insists on it. For someone who claims to want nothing, he's very specific about where he needs to be and what needs to happen. Almost like he's seen this play out and knows exactly where every piece needs to be on the board. Moment 2, Sam and Jon. Bran tells Sam to tell Jon about his true parentage. But why then? Why at that specific moment before the battle? He knew it would fracture their alliance. He knew it would plant doubt in Jon's mind and create tension with Daenerys. The timing wasn't random. It was surgical. He needed Jon to know, but he needed it to happen at precisely the right moment to destabilize everything that came after. Moment 3, the journey south. After the battle, Bran decides to go south with everyone. He doesn't stay in Winterfell. He doesn't stay safely in the north where he's protected. He insists on making the journey to King's Landing. Again, for someone with no desires, that's an oddly specific choice. Unless he knew he needed to be there for the final act. Moment 4, the council scene. And finally, that council scene. When Tyrion proposes Bran as king, watch Bran's face. There's no surprise. No hesitation. Just, why do you think I came all this way? He knew. He's been knowing. And he let everyone else believe it was their idea. These aren't the actions of someone with no agency. These are the calculated moves of someone playing the game better than anyone else ever has. So why does this matter? Why am I spending 16 minutes dissecting a character from a show that ended years ago? Because Game of Thrones was never just about who sat on the throne. It was about power, how we get it, how we keep it, and what it costs. And Bran's ending is the ultimate commentary on that. Every other character who wanted power showed their hand. They fought, they schemed, they revealed their desperation. And every single one either died or lost everything. But Bran? Bran won by appearing to want nothing. He won by making himself seem inevitable rather than ambitious. He won by playing a game no one else even knew they were in. And that's terrifying. Because it means the person with the most power in Westeros is also the least accountable. He doesn't answer to advisors, he knows more than they ever could. He doesn't answer to the people, he can see their thoughts, their plans, their secrets. He doesn't even answer to human morality because he claims he's beyond it. George R.R. Martin has said that the ending of the show matches the ending of his books in broad strokes. Bran becoming king is his ending. And Martin's work has always been about subverting fantasy tropes. The hero doesn't always win. The good guys don't always get rewarded. And sometimes, the person who gets everything they want is the one who convinced you they wanted nothing at all. Think about the title, The Three-Eyed Raven. Ravens in mythology are associated with prophecy, but also with trickery. Odin, the Norse god of wisdom, had two ravens, thought and memory, but he was also the god of deception. The raven in indigenous American cultures is a trickster figure. Even in Westerosi culture, ravens carry messages, but the message depends on who sends it. What if Bran is the ultimate trickster? What if the three-eyed raven has been manipulating events for thousands of years, and Bran's coronation is just the latest chapter in an ancient game we're only beginning to understand? So here's what I think really happened. Bran didn't become king because he was the best choice. He became king because he made himself the only choice. He removed every other option systematically, using knowledge that no one else possessed, playing a game across time itself. And the most brilliant part? We'll never know for sure. Because Bran's mind is the one place in Westeros that no one else can access. His motivations died with Bran Stark. What's left is something older, stranger, and far more patient than any human ruler could ever be. The Game of Thrones isn't over. It never will be. Because the person who won it isn't playing by the same rules as everyone else. He's playing a game that started before the wall was built and will continue long after every other character is dust. Bran the Broken didn't break the wheel. He became it. And maybe that's the real tragedy of Game of Thrones. We spent 8 seasons watching people fight for a throne, believing that whoever won it would change the world. But in the end, the person who won was the one who'd already seen every move everyone would make. The game was over before it even began. So what do you think? Is Bran a passive puppet of fate, or the greatest player in the history of Westeros? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear your theories. And if this changed how you see the ending, even a little bit, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting started with these deep dives. Until next time, remember, in the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. Unless you're the one who can see every possible future. In which case, you've already won.